strong winds. And regardless if those winds were rotating or not, they are strong and they can cause damage. Straight line winds, tornadic winds, doesn't really matter in a situation like this. Oftentimes we think of those big tornadoes as being the biggest problem. We're not dealing with that type of a scenario today. These would be small spin-ups, but regardless, if it's a small spin-up or a straight line wind, 70 miles an hour winds or 70 mile an hour winds, no matter the direction, and it can cause problems. We've seen that with a number of power outages across the area. That rotation is now squarely over Stampers Creek. That will continue moving off to the east. Trees are down on State Road 56 across DuBois County. This is 150. The strongest winds have just crossed that in Orange County, and that's going to take it over. You can see the back edge of that warning has expired, so that was the one scheduled to expire at 1 o'clock. It's out. Obviously, the storm is now within bounds of this new tornado.
102 in the morning, and yes, so the storm is even speeding up a bit. It's now moving off to the east at 55 miles per hour. Now includes English, Indiana. You're getting probably some of the strongest wind of this so far. Moving toward Palmyra. I know you're not seeing much of anything at this present moment, but it is moving very quickly, and you need to be getting in your safe spot. Also includes the town of Marengo, Milltown, Borden, and Greenville. You have that severe thunderstorm warning. And then just to the north of there, we have the tornado warning. Let me go ahead and take that tracker off so we can see this a little bit clearer, and then we'll make the radar still. So the tornado warning at this point over Paoli still includes you folks in Paoli, includes you folks in Campbellsburg and Salem, as well as Livonia. This is going to continue to race on off to the east. Just south of there, though, we have the severe thunderstorm warning, so I'd still recommend that you're in your safe spot, even if you're outside of that particular tornado warning. If you don't have any active warnings, we still do have the watch for all of southern Indiana here, and this also includes the Louisville Metro and our counties around it. So if you're watching from Brandenburg over to Taylorsville, Shelbyville, or Newcastle, all you folks are also included in this tornado watch. So even though there's no active warnings at this point, you still have that threat of potentially seeing a storm spin up a tornado into the next couple of hours. This threat, I'm thinking, is going to last about until 5 o'clock tomorrow morning, and not just with that threat of tornadoes, but we could see damaging wind gusts up to about 70 miles per hour. As I mentioned, we did have some power outages near the Jasper area, also Ireland, because of likely the very strong wind that's embedded in these thunderstorms. Frequent lightning, something that we've been tracking pretty much all day with these storms. Heavy rain has caused a bit of flooding, mainly outside of our area, but it is dumping a lot of rain over the same spot and causing a few issues here and there. So we don't have any active flash flood warnings, but I wouldn't be surprised if we did get one, particularly in the Bedford area where that storm was very slow moving. Hail is also a threat as well, even though it hasn't made itself a huge issue just yet. Still think that these storms will be capable, at least, of producing some hail. So we're going back to radar so we can track the tornado warning that we currently have in effect for at least 15 more minutes as they continue to move off toward Campbellsburg. It's almost to you, and to Salem. So you can see just how quickly this is moving on our Max HD radar here as it's continuing to race off to the east at 55 miles per hour. So it has actually gained a bit of speed in the last couple of radar scans. So we'll try to get down closer to ground level so we can see who else is included in this warning. So this includes the Prowsville neighborhood over to Beck's Mill and Rosebud. It's almost to you. You need to be in your safe spot at this minute. So we'll put another tracker on it and even bring it out a little bit farther than the actual warning that we're seeing out there right now, because we will likely continue to see this tornado warning expand on out to the east. So we'll just put a quick little tracker, move it out to all the way out to New Liberty. So if you're watching from Hitchcock, it's right over top of you. At this point, you're likely going to hear the wind howling out there and seeing the sky light up with all of that lightning and just torrential downpours. South Boston, it'll be near you in less than 10 minutes, but again, these are just estimates. So we need to just go ahead and get in the safe spot at this point. 121 headed toward New Liberty as it approaches the west side of I-65, the tornado warned storm that is. But we also have that severe thunderstorm warning that's just to the south of you folks in Paoli. So that includes English, Portland included in this severe thunderstorm as well, Leavenworth and New Salisbury and Palmyra areas. So we'll go ahead and track out exactly when the worst part of that storm is going to be reaching you as well. So at this point it is 1:06. It's going to be near you in Fredericksburg in just about 2 minutes. Palmyra by 1:13, 1:20 Greenville, 1:26 Portland, and then 1:30 in Lanesville. So if you are included in this severe thunderstorm warning, I would also suggest that you're getting to your safe spot. Don't wait until you actually start to hear those rumbles of thunder or hear the very heavy rainfall. Go ahead and get in your safe spot. Make sure that you have water with you, bringing it down to the basement if possible, grabbing your family. Don't forget your pets either as you're going down into your safe spot. It's a good idea to have blankets and as well. Make sure perhaps have you a cell phone charger so you can keep your cell phone charged. If you are just joining us, we have an active tornado warning for Orange and Washington, parts of Orange and Washington counties until 1:15. So for at least 12 more minutes here. This includes Salem, Indiana, as the worst part of the storm is approaching you. Campbellsburg, it's right over you at this point. Paoli, the worst part of the storm is past you, but it's still, you're seeing torrential downpours out there still.
Delayed, so we'll keep you up to date with anything else that comes in.
Okay, I appreciate that. As we take a look at what's happening, it's a wind maker, potentially rotating, some areas not rotating. We've also noted that with the push of wind, some of this has come with straight line winds, and that's especially true to the south. So I don't want to ignore that. Let me go back to our velocity. We go back to our home view here, and I'm going to put on the radar, and then I'm going to lift it up. And we're going to look at two different things. One, where we have the tightest rotation, and two, where we have the push of wind, where we could just see some straight line winds. I want to try to keep that tornado warning in there. But all right, so two things to watch. We have an area of rotation, which has spawned the tornado warning. I can see that better with the velocity. So let's go back to the velocity. There it is. You can see that's, and notice it's tightening up just a bit. So that's a bad sign. We have the tightening of the velocity right there between Campbellsburg and Rosebud, just north of Beck's Mill, moving towards Salem, Indiana, in the lowest level, the basement. Find yourself at the lowest level away from windows, under something sturdy. Could be some stairs, could be a closet, could be a door frame. Maybe it's a bathroom in the bathtub. If you have a bike helmet, sometimes you hear people say put that on, whatever, to protect your head. You need to be in the lowest level, all right? We have the rotation. That's one factor in what we're watching. The other happens to be where you see this arcing out area here. That's a strong push of wind that's coming with heavy rain, a lot of lightning. That's already past English. It's moving past Whiskey Run now. It's going to approach Fairdale, Crandall. It will eventually get close to Corydon. It's right along 64 at this point across parts of Crawford and now moving into Harrison County, Indiana. If I put the reflectivity on, the radar itself, you can see what we're talking about. Notice how it's sort of bowed out. So two areas. We've got the rotation, possible strong winds with that, and then all along this line that's arced out, some pretty strong winds, capable of 50 to 60 mile per hour winds. This whole mass of storms moving off to the east, slowly jogging to the per hour. We go back again. We've given good warning to the folks in Washington County for the last 15, 20 minutes at least. We go back to the velocity. I'm going to zoom in tight so you can see what we're watching. Still some pockets of wind behind that. When we look inside that storm at the velocity, This is the rotation. We'll zoom into the tornado warning, and then we'll focus on the severe as it gets closer to the city. 1:15 is the expiration time, so we still technically have 4 more minutes left on this warning. We can still see some of that rotation between Campbellsburg and Livonia. That's going to take you right into Salem, all right? So that is the area of most concern in terms of strong winds. Notice the last scan broken a little bit. That'll come back around. Nonetheless, we continue to see the strong winds pushing very close to Campbellsburg, moving right toward Salem, Indiana. We have had a number of power outages. We've had structural damage back across parts of Du Bois County. So we know that these storms have had enough wind and energy to cause problems. And Jessica just gave us the power outages, at least as we see them, and those go up by the minute. We don't have the real-time information. It's just the reported time. So we wind up seeing 5% of customers across Orange County without power. So we're already seeing that we've got some issues. You factor in that Tawana has talked to the 911 operator who says, I've got too many 911 calls to take, can't talk to you. That's okay. We get it. Hang up and say, we know we're having problems across Orange County. We continue to see these storms move into Washington County, and Salem is next in line. The rotation has become a little broader, so you can see it's not just one tight circulation, but the wind is still there. And that's still going to be a concern with winds of 60, perhaps higher, mile per hour higher, as it moves closer to Salem, Indiana. That is an area that we continue to watch as it moves off to the east at about 55 miles an hour. Jessica, what do you have?
I've been looking at some of our SkyTrack cameras once again to get an idea of if we can see some of the lightning and some of the storm structure. And so far with our SkyTrack camera in Starlight, Indiana, we can see a little bit of that as it inches closer and closer to our southern Indiana counties along the river especially. So I've also been looking at our New Albany SkyTrack camera, but otherwise no other reports so far at this time. But obviously I'm sure they're going to be coming back in here over the next couple of minutes, and we're going to continue to keep a close eye on these SkyTrack cameras too.
Yeah, lots of lightning. Certainly some folks are going to get a little less sleep than they wanted tonight probably. Wind is the bigger issue. 1 more minute on the tornado warning as it moves closer to Salem. We'll see if that gets extended. Right now it looks like it's pretty much stretched out, so wouldn't anticipate that getting extended. But some of that depends on the damage that's occurring, and the Weather Service is evaluating that now. We have about another 15 minutes left on the other warning. I'm going to go back to the radar view, back to our home view. The other warning I'm talking about is a severe thunderstorm warning that stretches across parts of Washington, Harrison, Crawford, and western parts, and there you see it. So they've replaced the tornado warning with a severe thunderstorm warning, but notice it's outlined in black, and that means tornado possible. So anytime we see that there could be rotation, but it doesn't look like a huge chance, meaning that it could happen, but it's more sort of stretched out like I mentioned, then it's a severe thunderstorm warning. Wind speed still possible with this 1-inch hail. This is the tornado warning that you're looking at here. That will be replaced with a severe thunderstorm warning. Still 60 mile per hour winds possible with that, and that will go until 2 a.m. So that's a long sort of warning as it stretches all the way into western Jefferson County, Indiana, and northern parts of Clark County from Henryville to New Washington. That warning will go until 2 a.m. So you're going to see this tornado warning fall off here in a minute. That expires at 1:15, being replaced with a severe thunderstorm warning that will go until 2 a.m. Winds with this still could exceed 60 miles an hour. Hail anywhere probably less than 1 inch. We haven't had a whole lot of hail reports out of these storms at this time. Again, we're just now at 1:15, and as soon as the computer reads that, it'll be replacing that tornado warning with the severe thunderstorm warning. There it is, and you can see the latest on that. 60 mile per hour winds comes with that tag tornado possible as we track that storm right through Salem. So weakened a bit just in time in terms of the rotation, but I will stress again, Doesn't matter if the winds are rotating or not, they have had a history of producing damage. And 60-mile-per-hour winds, straight line winds, can cause some problems. What we look at in these radar echoes like this would be where we have these bowing segments, and that's one there moving into Salem, right at the apex of that bow, just passing through. So you can see that would be a zone of some very strong wind, possibly 50, 60-mile-per-hour winds. I'm going to go back, I'm going to lift the radar up. Now that we have a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings, the other bow that we see is just down here. And again, it's more of the same. So we'll be tracking this as it continues to move off to the south. It's that zone, right? That leading edge, really, anywhere in these areas that I'm pointing out, I think it's safe to say we could probably mark the whole thing. That's the push of wind. That's what's moving our way. That's what's moving across Washington County. That's what's moving into western Clark County, Borden. That's what's moving across southern parts of Orange County, northern Harrison County, and eventually Floyd County. That's the severe thunderstorm warning. Two of those in place. The one for Crawford, Floyd, Harrison, and Washington will go until 1:30. The one to the north will go until 2 o'clock as it moves to the east, 55 miles per hour. Any other reports coming in terms of power outages or from law enforcement? And we'll start with Tawana and then bump over to Jessica. Tawana, anything on your end?
So just getting in reports from a viewer who just sent me a video of damage in Paoli. Actually, she is doing a Facebook Live right now showing the damage in Paoli. She says power is out, debris is everywhere right now. So she's currently working to try to make sure she's safe, her family's safe. So thank you for sending in these reports. Super important, working to get a little bit more information as well. I'm looking at her Facebook Live right now and I'm seeing trees down, large branches down as well. So obviously they are working to make sure that they are safe. Seeing some, it looks like
Part of the roof, maybe?
Part of her roof, looks like part of her fence is slightly bent over. So they're continuing to really wake up right now and try to get a little bit more information on the damage. So we're literally doing minute by minute. I'm going through your comments, your reports, so thank you for sending those in, continuing to try to work to get to dispatches, but all of those have been busy, which, as Kevin has been talking about, that just implicates that there's some stuff going on there. So make sure, if you're out ahead of these storms as well, I've seen a couple of comments and questions from people. If you're in the line of these storms, especially if you're in a trailer, it's better that you take the precautions and get to a safe place now rather than waiting until the last minute. It's better to be safe than sorry in these types of situations. So thank you so much for sending these in. We're continuing to work to get a little bit more information and get a little bit more from you guys. So thank you for these reports, and we're continuing to work and get a bit more information from this. But yeah, just getting in these reports from Paoli of all this damage that's continuing to come in. No word in severity of the damage, no word of any roofs off, but certainly seeing debris everywhere and certainly dealing with a little bit more of that. Kevin?
All right, exponentially the power outages are going up as well. Jessica Dobson has a new update on those. Last check we were at about 500 with 5% out. I see that's gone up quite a bit.
Yeah, we're now up to about 1,500 customers without power. That's going to be in Orange County in Indiana, and that's actually where Tawana was mentioning some of the damage was coming in from. And that same viewer says police and ambulance are clearing debris on the street. But I will say that about 13% of customers are without power. That's about 12,000 people total that they serve in Orange County in particular. We also have some power outages a little bit further to the south. We'll get a query of those. That's going to be in Crawford County, only about 60 customers without power, but again, these are kind of delayed, so I expect that number to go up a bit, and that's only 1% right now, but we'll keep you up to date if that changes, of course, which I imagine it will.
All right, I imagine that will too. We have that same area of wind moving closer to the metro area. That would mean western parts of Clark, Borden, Henryville, Greenville into Floyd County, moving closer to Corydon. We'll fire up our Corydon camera. That should start to see some of that wind momentarily. So Jessica's working on that. Let me go back to our radar view. This is going to take off the warning that we have, and then I can zoom this out. Let me just go back to our home view, point out, here we are in Louisville. We are still a little bit of ways. So I'm going to, again, when we look at the lightning with these, we can see the storms based on the lightning. That lightning count has gone down a little bit. That's a good indicator that we are seeing at least some weakening in these storms. Same story when we had the tornado warning versus the severe thunderstorm warning. Some weakening with these storms. So that trend continues, at least in the last few minutes. Good news there. When we, again, put on the radar, and I'm just going to zoom back into the area that's moving closer to us, we, again, continue to watch two areas most intense. One's bowing out as it moves into now eastern parts of Washington County. That will take some strong wind across eastern Washington, western Scott County. You're under that severe thunderstorm warning until 2 a.m. So you've got another 40 minutes on that warning. We also have strong winds pushing across northern parts of Harrison County. The strongest of the wind is likely around New Salisbury. Going to move into northern Floyd County, up toward Greenville. That would be one area that we continue to watch as it moves off to the east. The storm's moving at about 50 to 55 miles an hour. The wind speeds have been impressive.